An out-of-control fire continues to burn through bushland, threatening properties south of Adelaide.
Near Nankita and Tuparang, where a bushfire has been burning out of control.
You're looking live at Yellowstone National Park, where a massive underground explosion has torn open the caldera.
The ground beneath our feet, which we once believed to be as solid as our faith, has begun to groan under a weight we cannot yet name. Across the vast and beautiful expanse of the United States, from the rugged peaks of the Rockies to the sun-drenched valleys of the American South, something profound and unsettling is shifting. We look to the horizon and see not just the weather but a message written in the very elements themselves. Is it possible that the peace we have enjoyed for so long is merely the silence before a divine storm? As we turn our eyes toward the southern reaches of our great nation, we witness the landscape itself beginning to surrender. Mountainsides that have stood for generations providing a backdrop to the American dream are suddenly crumbling into the depths. It is as if the earth is being shaken by an invisible hand, a reminder of the ancient warnings that even the mountains shall tremble at his presence. We see the soil, once the source of our harvest, turning into a force of destruction, swallowing roads and challenging the very structures we built to signify our permanence. This is not just a geological event for those with eyes to see. It feels like a spiritual awakening, a sign that the foundations of man are far more fragile than the foundations of the Almighty. Even in the coldest corners of our land, where the ice should be a symbol of stillness, there is a violent unrest. The great rivers, the lifeblood of our commerce and history, are being choked by ice that shatters with a force that defies explanation. The sound of breaking ice echoes like the snapping of old, promises a chilling symphony that asks us if we are truly prepared for what is coming. We are living in an era of unprecedented events, but for the believer, there is no such thing as a coincidence. The scriptures spoke of a time when the heavens and the earth would be shaken, so that only what is unshakable remains. As we witness these shadows falling over America, we must ask ourselves if we have drifted too far from the light. Is the shaking of our land a call to the shaking of our souls? Before we go deeper into these prophetic signs appearing across the USA, I want to ask you if you feel it too. Do you feel that the world we knew is slipping away to make room for something eternal? If you seek the truth in these troubled times, please subscribe and join our community of watchers. Like this video to help us spread this urgent message to every corner of this nation, because we are in this together, watching and praying. As we watch these moments unfold across our great land, it becomes impossible to look away from the sheer weight of what is happening to the American soil. Imagine standing on a quiet road in the American South, feeling the very ground that has supported your family for generations begin to breathe and heave like a living creature. In these clips, we see the terrifying reality of the earth losing its grip, where massive landslides do not just move dirt, but reshape the very destiny of the communities they touch. When you see a hillside in the southern states begin to slide, it is not a slow or gentle process. It is a violent roar that reminds us how small we truly are in the face of the almighty power. These images of mud and rock cascading down like a waterfall of debris are a haunting reflection of the instability we feel in our hearts today. We see houses that were once sanctuaries of peace now standing on the edge of a precipice, as if the world is trying to reclaim the space we have borrowed. It brings to mind the ancient words that tell us the earth will wear out like a garment, and we are witnessing the threads of that garment pull apart right before our eyes. The sheer force of the water we see in these southern floods is not just a seasonal change, it is an overwhelming surge that carries the weight of 1,000 warnings. It turns our streets into rivers of sorrow, and our backyards into vast, unmapped oceans. There is a deep human ache in watching a neighbor lose everything to a sudden shift in the terrain, because it makes us realize that no matter how much we build or how high we climb, we are ultimately dependent on the mercy of the Creator. These clips show us the terrifying beauty of nature turned into a weapon of correction, where the hills we once looked to for strength are now the very things we must flee from. In the American South, where the bond between the people and the land is so sacred, this shaking feels like a personal confrontation with the divine. It is a moment that strips away our pride and our technological distractions, leaving us with nothing but our faith and our prayers. As the earth continues to buckle and the waters continue to rise, we are forced to confront the reality that we are living in the days our ancestors whispered about. This is the sound of the foundations being tested, and the message is clear that nothing on this earth is permanent except the word of the Lord. Every tree that is uprooted and every road that is swallowed is a sentence in a much larger story that we are all currently writing with our lives. We cannot afford to turn a blind eye to the frequency of these events, because they are no longer just news cycles, they are the heartbeat of a world in labor. When you see the mud burying the paths we once walked with confidence, ask yourself if you have built your house upon the sand or upon the rock that cannot be moved. The images of these landslides are a physical manifestation of a spiritual truth that we are in a season of great transition, where the old world is passing away to make room for something far more powerful. We stand together as a nation watching these signs, not with a spirit of fear, but with a spirit of readiness, because we know that when the earth shakes, it is often to wake those who are sleeping. As the earth continues to tremble and the waters rise across our own soil, we must realize that the groaning of creation is not confined to one corner of the globe. For even across the vast oceans, a new and terrible sign is emerging.
At least 18 people have been killed in Chile as forest fires ravage large parts of the country.
In the sun-parched reaches of Australia, a land often defined by its resilience, a fire is burning that seems to defy the very laws of nature. We see the horizon glowing with an unnatural crimson hue, as if the sky itself is bleeding, while the winds carry the ashes of a world in distress. This is not merely the heat of a season, but a fiery testimony that mirrors the heat of the trials we face here at home. When the scriptures speak of the heavens being on fire and the elements melting with fervent heat, we cannot help but look at these distant flames and feel a chilling familiarity. The fire in the wilderness of Australia serves as a global beacon, a terrifying reminder that the purifying flames of the Almighty do not recognize borders or oceans. Just as the American South is being reshaped by water and stone, the Southern Hemisphere is being tested by fire and smoke. It is as if the elements themselves have been commissioned to deliver a final warning to a world that has forgotten its way. We see the people of that distant land standing in the shadows of towering infernos, looking for a hope that cannot be burned away, and it forces us to reflect on our own spiritual preparedness. If the very forests can be consumed in an instant, what will happen to the structures of man when the true fire of judgment arrives? The smoke from those distant fires drifts across the atmosphere, a gray shroud that reminds us of our shared fragility. We are connected not just by our technology or our commerce, but by the breath of life given to us by the Creator, and that breath is being tested by the soot and the storm. It is a time for us to stand in the gap, to recognize that the shaking in America and the burning in Australia are two verses in the same prophetic chapter. We are witnessing a world in labor, crying out for the return of the Prince of Peace. The Bible tells us in the second book of Peter that the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, the earth also, and the works that are therein shall be burned up. This is not a message meant to cast us into despair, but to ignite a holy fire within our own spirits. As we watch the footage of the earth giving way and the forests turning to ash, we are being called to a higher devotion. We must look past the destruction and see the hand of God calling his children home. We must understand that when the foundations of the world are being shaken, it is so that we might reach for the hand that is unshakable. Our journey through these signs has brought us to a crossroads where we can no longer remain lukewarm. The signs in the American landscape and the fires in the Australian bush are clear indicators that the clock is ticking toward a divine midnight. As we bring this journey to a close, I want you to look deep within your heart and ask if you are ready to stand before the one who controls the wind and the flame. Do not let these images be mere entertainment for your eyes, but let them be a catalyst for your soul. We live in a nation that has been blessed beyond measure, but we must return to the source of those blessings before the shadows grow too long. Let us pray for those in the path of the fire and those standing on the edge of the crumbling cliffs, but most of all, let us pray for our own spiritual sight. May we have the courage to see the truth behind the chaos and the faith to walk through the fire without being consumed. The world is changing, and the signs are undeniable, but for the believer this is the season of greatest hope, because we know that our redemption draws nigh. Thank you for standing watch with us today in this hour of reflection. If this message has touched your spirit, and if you feel the weight of these times upon your heart, then I invite you to join our family of faith. Subscribe to this channel to stay vigilant and share this message with those who are still sleeping in the darkness. Like this video to ensure the truth reaches the hearts of every American from the northern peaks to the southern valleys. We are one people under God watching for the dawn of a new kingdom. Keep your lamps trimmed and your hearts ready, for the King is at the door and the earth itself is herald to his arrival. Stay blessed, stay watchful, and may the peace that passes all understanding guard your hearts and minds in the days to come.